Hey everybody, Attorney Richard Seller here. Gold and exciting and really incredible Women's World Cup result and finale. Some interesting issues come out of it. You know, I always try to find an angle for you guys how it relates to employment law. So there's an interesting angle that's come out in terms of equal pay for equal results and equal gender. So, you know, the big discussion throughout the World Cup has been, well, why aren't the women being paid as much as the men in this and in other sports? And there's some real compelling arguments, and there's an employment law angle here always. So first of all, let's talk about the employment laws that could apply, all right? So you have something called the Equal Pay Act, which says if all things are equal, men and women are doing the exact same job, have the same qualifications, they should be paid the same. And if employers aren't paying employees of different genders the same amount of money, or if women are being paid less to do the same work with the same qualifications, that is a violation of the Equal Pay Act, and there are penalties to an employer for doing that. You see it commonly in the construction trades where employers are paying male employees like carpenters a higher hourly rate, but there are female carpenters in the same trade with the same qualifications that are making $2 to $3 less per hour. And that's a violation, and there are class actions that arise as a result of that. So the Equal Pay Act is one of them. The other law that generally applies is Title VII, or in Florida, the Florida Civil Rights Act, which is the gender discrimination laws, which prohibit an employer for treating women, or even men, depending on the situation, in a disparate or unfair manner based solely on their gender. So the World Cup has created this storm of why are the women players being paid so much less than the male players, and they're getting better results. The male U.S. national team has been a disaster the last couple of major events. In fact, they lost last night to Mexico 1-0 in the CONCACAF tournament. Don't worry, I'm not a soccer head, but I have been following. It's been really interesting. In any event, so the argument goes, why are the women being paid so much less than the men? And they're producing better results and so much more buzz. And there's interesting arguments. The biggest thing I can tell you is that, in my opinion, the women's soccer team should be getting equal pay as the men. Okay, they're getting the same amount of notoriety and publicity. The results are so much better. And there shouldn't be any disparity because the income, from what I understand, all goes to one common pot, FIFA. Now, if I'm wrong on that, obviously that would change my analysis a little bit, but there's no valid reason, in my opinion, other than traditional gender disparagement or stereotyping, why the U.S. women shouldn't be making as much as each of the male players. Now, here's the counter side of the argument, okay? Take the WNBA. Okay, the revenues for the WNBA are substantially lower in terms of fan involvement, fan following, things of that nature, where the revenue clearly is not the same. So the top star in the WNBA is not going to be paid as much as a Kevin Durant or a Steph Curry or whoever you like in the NBA. And that logic and reasoning, whether fair or unfair, makes sense. If the revenue is not equal in the WNBA to the NBA, then there's going to be a disparity in pay because there's just not enough dollars to go around to justify the same type of pay. There's been arguments for years as well as to whether female tennis players should be paid the same as male tennis players. In years past, the purses, meaning how much the winners get, at male versus female dominated events has been very different, where males have been paid so much higher. And it goes all across the board. So the moral of this story is as follows. It's a case-by-case basis as it comes to professional sports. The women's soccer team should without a doubt be getting paid the same amount as the men. There are other sports, even though it's unfair, you have to look at the economics of the situation, where because the women aren't as much of a draw due to fan bias or just, longevity, there's not enough revenue to match what the men are being paid. I'm not saying it's right. However, in those instances, it may not be illegal. Interesting topics for discussion. Go USA. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July holiday weekend. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, email me, richard@floridaovertimelawyer.com. If you've got something going on in your workplace, that you believe is unfair or illegal, reach out to us. Always happy to provide a free evaluation, free advice. Hope everybody's staying cool this summer. Have a great one.